Good evening and welcome to Bills Camp tonight, taking the evening off from spending the day at St. John Fisher. Tonight we are in the friendly confines of our flagship Bills Camp station in Rochester, New York. I'm Thad Brown. That is Prescott Rossi. We will not stop. There are no commercial breaks. When we're done, that means you know everything that happened at Bills Camp today. One thing that didn't happen today, LaShawn McCoy showing up. He was not there. Sean McDermott said due to a personal reason, the team expected it. No specific word on when McCoy would be back. Not the only missing man report today for the Bills at St. John Fisher. Bills center Mitch Morse missed his third straight practice. McDermott announced today Morse is in concussion protocol. Injuries, remember, were really the only caveat for this free agent signing. Morse now has his fourth documented concussion. Guard Spencer Long also missed practice with a knee issue. Camp, it's only a week old, and nutrition already testing the Bills.
I've been impressed, Chris, with really when some guys have been down, Mitch in this case, as you alluded to, other guys stepping up, whether it's been John Feliciano, Spencer Long, Russ Bodine's put together a couple good practices, encouraged by that, and really just the mental toughness of the group.
Well, the Mitch Morse injury will certainly complicate things a bit for new Bills offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. As Prescott Rossi will tell you, good or bad, Johnson is hard to forget.
Spend a day at Bills training camp and you are guaranteed to hear this voice. The shouting comes from offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. His voice is hard to miss, and neither is the hoodie he wears in the summer heat.
I want my guys to know, like, aren't you hot? No. I'm lying. You can see it. But my point is I want them to prove that you got to be mentally tough. Physical toughness comes from mental toughness.
The Bills' O-line definitely notices.
Guys, like, looking in, like, they might say, holy crap, like, that guy is just crazy. But it's all love, and we feed off of that.
Bobby Johnson admits he wasn't the best behaved kid growing up. He credits his father for not only being a role model he needed, but also for his booming voice. Today, Bobby Johnson channels his old man while coaching the Bills' offensive line.
You know, when my dad yelled my name, I knew when I was in trouble. So it's just kind of, if you want somebody to listen, you gotta have a presence.
Johnson joined the Bills in January. During the hiring process, Sean McDermott told him what the Bills wanted in their offensive linemen. Johnson says that philosophy matched perfectly with him.
Smart, tough, physical, dependable guys. That's what we look for in this organization. That's what we look for with those guys individually and collectively. And hopefully I display it to them.
Training camp can be long and hard, but Bobby Johnson's passion and enthusiasm is infectious. Just ask the Bills.
He's a little bit psychotic, but in the kind of way you want in an offensive line coach. The guy's going to bring the passion and the juice every day. So we don't want anything else except Bobby Johnson in our corner.
It's unlikely anyone would complain.
There's Bobby Johnson getting down at Bills camp. We know we talked to Mitch Morse a couple days ago, so that's why he's in the piece, even though he wasn't in practice today. Now, this is also Bobby Johnson's second go-around with the Bills. He was an assistant offensive line coach under Chan Gailey back in 2010 and 2011. Those were his first 2 years in the NFL. Now going into his 10th season in the league, was with Indianapolis. Remember, that was a team that took their offensive line from one of the worst in the league to one of the best in the league last season. Johnson got a lot of credit for that. Now let's see if he can do that program again here in Buffalo.
Quentin Nelson not walking through that door in Buffalo, however. But no, Johnson has a good pedigree, and he's got a heck of a task with all those guys and 4 open jobs. Now it's time to talk about the guy who is always on the mind of every Bills fan. This is our Just Joshin segment. First, here's his numbers from practice today. These are unofficial numbers, and big caveat today, I missed the first drill. My bad. But you can see from what we got there, Allen wasn't really good today. Now, the weekend offensive line did not help. Allen at one point had a pretty deep ball that was disallowed because of a phantom sack that was called. I could explain the rules of training camp. It's not worth it to you or me. Allen really, on his own, though, did not do well helping the patchwork line out. He held the ball quite a bit, ran the ball quite a bit, just really wasn't good all around. And by the way, yes, that last line is accurate. Yep. Jordan Phillips deflected a Josh Allen pass, caught it. He scored a big man touchdown, which was followed by a big man spike and then a big man chest bump.
Yes, and we talked to Jordan Phillips after practice today. He said it's the first time he's been in the end zone since high school. He never had a pick six in college, never had a pick six early in his career. He's like, so you know what? I'm going to make the most of this. I'm going to go crazy. The fans loved it. I think the defense obviously loved it. And, yeah, you know, some fun in the summer heat and actually, correction on that, Star Latulele got a hand on it.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
We went, when we asked Phillips after practice, you know, who got the hand on it? Was that you? Did you tip a pick six to yourself? You went, no, I can't take all the credit for that. Starr got a paw on it. Funny, you're right, it is a paw whenever the big guys hit the ball. Starr Lotulelei got a paw on the football. Jordan Phillips snagged it and ran it in for the score.
Bottom line, though, Josh Allen had, I don't want to call it a step back. It's one practice. Yeah. But after 2 good days, this was not really a good day. Not a terrible day. There was one pattern. At one point I saw Cole Beasley made it was about a 15-yard post. He makes his in move, and he's open. And you can see Cole Beasley turning and expecting the ball to be there. And Josh is in the pocket, patting it once, patting it twice. And by the time he throws, Beasley had kind of given up on the route because he had gone from...
Where else is he going to go?
Well, yeah, he had gone from breaking into open space, and you keep moving. Now you're back into coverage again. And the ball wasn't well thrown either. To me, that kind of summed up the day. There were a few good moments, but for the most part, this was the quarterback we fear Josh Allen might become, the guy that you can't depend on day to day, series to series, down to down.
And the offensive line needs to step up, too, because I thought Russell Bodine had a pretty poor day in stepping in for Mitch Morse. Now, listen, Ed Oliver is going to eat a lot of dudes' lunches, but and we'll get to him in a minute. But, yeah, I just felt that Russell Bodine had a really tough day out there. And, as soon as Josh has the ball, there's a defensive tackle right in his grill. That wasn't going to lead to a lot of successful plays in the team drills.
Now, before practice got going, as always, there's a Bills coach that steps to the podium and talks about some of the things that are on his mind. Actually, he talks about the things that we ask him about. So here is today's edition. Sean McDermott today. It's Coach Speak.
I want to see these 2 young punters develop, and we've tried to expose them, and we'll continue to try and expose them to different game situations, game-like situations in practice, so they can continue to evolve. When you look up tough in the dictionary, I think you'll see Frank Gore's picture right next to it. I mean, that guy he's tough. And if we're going to be anything, we're going to be a tough football team. You notice the quickness, instincts. He's an extremely humble young man, and really takes to coaching well, which isn't always the case with young players these days, it seems. Really appreciate that about him, and I believe he's endeared himself to his teammates, which is important as well, just by the way he's approached the start to his NFL career. Things that happen, as you mentioned, behind the scenes is really neat to see. And at the end of the day, what I come away with is that these guys, and I've said this before, they're human. They deal with things. They support one another. You see guys putting their arms around each other, and a guy has a challenging play or a bad day, or they're going through things off the field. I believe that's the glue that really bonds a good team together.
Now, if you've ever been to training camp, you've heard the music coming from the speakers that are there on the field. You know that clip that we just showed a moment ago of Bobby Johnson dancing to James Brown? That came from these guys. The 2 DJs are there every day to keep everyone lit. That's what they say. DJ Milk and DJ Yes. Yes, those are their names. Have been playing the hits at Bills training camp ever since Sean McDermott took over 3 years ago. The 2 can also be seen DJing events for the Sabres, Bandits, and the University of Buffalo. They say it's the music that keeps everyone engaged.
Music is kind of like that key element to everybody's mood. You can control the whole mood with the music. You can control the intensity with the music. So being a DJ is like fun in the instance where, you can actually make everybody happy with the music. Not only the fans, but the players as well. So everybody is engaged. It's kind of like the music is like the glue to the situation.
Now, a few members of the Western New York media have their fingers on the pulse when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, like Tim Graham. He recently moved from the Buffalo News to The Athletic. He was gracious today to stop by for a few minutes of his time with our own Thad Brown.
We have stopped the legend, Tim Graham from The Athletic Buffalo, for a few minutes about the Bills. And Tim, I think the first question, Mitch Morse, the news today with the concussion. I know we're not even into August yet, but how much of a concern is that?
It's got to be a major concern. Anytime you're talking about a concussion, getting into the protocol, the way that the NFL and each individual team takes this so seriously, and more seriously as the years go on, is that it's a big problem. Symptoms, of course, we don't know how it's going to go. Every concussion's different, but this is his 4th one, or at least the 4th on record. So the fact that these keep adding up, and let's say that he's able to come back from it, okay. Still, this is time lost. And from a football standpoint, I think the #1 concern is head injury, especially you talk about CTE and all this stuff. And as the older I get and the more I'm around sports, the more I'm concerned about the brain than I am the football aspect of it. But let's say that this is something that he gets over in a few days. These are very important few days. And games coming up, you want him out there. The chemistry that you need on the offensive line. Everybody was talking about how big of a loss it was for Eric Wood, and Mitch Morse is maybe even a better player than Eric Wood is, which is why the Bills made him the highest paid center in NFL history. But yeah, it's important from a health standpoint and a football standpoint for sure.
Flipping back to the football a little bit, the Bills obviously went out and grabbed a couple of big-name receivers, Cole Beasley and John Brown. They seem to have been probably the two best offensive pieces at camp, maybe. How impressed have you been with those two guys?
Very. You know, Cole Beasley's an X factor. I've been really high on him, but I think he can turn into that security blanket, that short distance guy that Josh Allen can go to on virtually any play. I knew more about John Brown coming into this training camp than I did Cole Beasley. But John Brown's just been super impressive with the way that he can blow the lid off of a defense, the way that he can stretch the field. He can do the underneath stuff too.
I think we look at this Bills defense and just expect them to dominate, expect them to be very good. Is it maybe too much of an assumption to just say they can roll out the balls and do what they did last year?
On the defensive side, yeah, you don't want to take anything for granted. There are some parts that are changing out. Obviously, the talent and leadership of Kyle Williams is not there anymore, but you plug in a guy like Ed Oliver, and you like to think that they can pick up where they left off. Tremaine Edmonds, another year older and still very young in the NFL, but with another year of NFL experience to grow on, turning into that captain, play caller in the middle of the field type guy. The safeties, you know, so we're going right up the middle. You know, on defense, the safeties, maybe the best tandem in the league, plus Tre'Davious White. I think that whatever happens with those other two cornerback spots, the one opposite Tre'Davious White and the nickel, you're looking at a very impressive unit, and I haven't even gotten to the pass rushers yet. If Trent Murphy can remain healthy, of course, that's going to be a huge help, but Jerry Hughes, I mean, Lorenzo Alexander doesn't look like he ages. So I do think we are maybe taking it for granted to say that everything's going to be fine there, but it should be the least of their worries.
Tim Graham, where would you like people to find you if they want to search for you social media-wise?
@ByTimGraham on Twitter, and hit me up at The Athletic. Click on the end of the story, click on my byline, send me emails. I get them all.
You also see them Sundays on Buffalo Kickoff Live with myself, Josh Reed, and Sal Cabacho. Tim, thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me.
Another day, another fun story from the Josh Allen autograph line. This time the name is Sarah Meany. She's a student from Iroquois High School in Buffalo. She came to Rochester armed with a sign and a dream, hoping Allen might go to her prom next June. The idea came up during an extended family dinner last night, and Meany said, hey, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. For the record, Allen did not say no. He said he would check his schedule. Meany got a bunch of autographs, and you know what? Give her credit. She took her shot.
This moment, I've been waiting for it for a long time. I don't really know how long, probably my whole life. I texted my cousin and I was like, what do you think I should say to him? And she was like, say something about his shorts. So I did. To quote it, you look good in shorts, but I think you'd look better in a tux. Shooting my shot, full send all the time. It's always a good idea. Remember that, kids, full send.
We're educating you here on Bills Camp tonight.
Yeah, you know, Josh Allen's girlfriend was standing just a few feet away. That takes some real bravery to put yourself out there like that, knowing that, you know, someone who's with Josh Allen is standing right there.
And Josh, of course, handled it perfectly because
I don't know what you do. You're just like, thanks, I'm flattered.
Here's an autograph and a picture, and I'll get back to you later.
I've got 100 other kids I have to autograph now.
All right, time to tell you our best and worst from the day. It's time for the high and the low. I get to go first because I write the rundown. Nick Easley is my high today. He had a couple of nice plays in the wide receiver versus defensive back one-on-ones. He's flashed here and there throughout the camp. I'd like to see a little more from him to really get him into the Brandon Riley, everybody loves him discussion. But there is potential there. He's got a great story, a guy who essentially walked on at Iowa. No one knew about him. And on a team that had, you know, those two tight ends, Noah Fant and T.J. Hawkinson, easily led the team in receptions last year. So there's a guy who can play. And today was a good day, but you want to see more.
And I think, you know, we talked yesterday about David Sills being the undrafted free agent wide receiver that we thought might make a push for that sixth wide receiver spot on the Bills. It's looking like Easley's going to be that guy. You know, last year was Robert Foster. It's been Brandon Riley in the past. But, yeah, Easley, I think, has been impressive, much more so than David Sills. Now, my high for the day on the other side of the ball Ed Oliver. The man is a wrecking ball. We knew that when the Bills drafted him, but you never sure, or 100% sure during camp he has been as good as advertised. And we mentioned Russell Bodine, who had a bad day. He could be my low for the day. He won't be. We'll get to that in a moment. But because Ed Oliver was just gets off the line so fast, so hard, and the next thing you know, Russell Bodine is backwards. He's standing straight up. It doesn't look very pretty, doesn't look very clean for an offensive lineman. Ed Oliver, you know, you just think about what he could become alongside guys like Jerry Hughes, Shaq Lawson, Murphy, and so on and so forth. Yeah, he's good.
One of the moments from practice today was Ed Oliver pushing an offensive lineman into Josh Allen. What?
Don't spoil the low. Come on, a moment.
We'll leave that for President.
Yeah.
Okay, my low then. I'm going to make it the offensive line as a whole. Now, look, I know Morse and Spencer Long were both hurt today. Obviously, Morse is going to be a big part of this offense. But as Adam Kaplan, who was at camp a couple days ago, you saw him on this program earlier this week, he said that he thought the Bills had the deepest offensive line in the NFL, top to bottom roster-wise. They did not look like it today.
Nope.
You know, without Mitch Morse, Josh Allen had 4 finger quote sacks, but it wasn't just the sacks. Josh was scrambling on today.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of time. Again, like we said earlier, Allen played his part in that misery too. But this offensive line looked like without Mitch Morse, they're going to be nearly as bad as they were last year. And that to me is a big, big concern.
Yeah, that was definitely a red flag that I noticed today. And the other one was the fact that Ed Oliver, who's now my low, along with my high, pushed Quentin Spain into Josh Allen as he was throwing. He has a red jersey on for a reason. No contact. Even if Ed Oliver is the wrecking ball we say he is, you can't blow up a dude and shove him into the quarterback. That happened. Sean McDermott was not happy. He yelled at, chewed out Ed Oliver. And then a few plays later, a few minutes later, Ed Oliver pinned down John Feliciano, another new member of the Bills' offensive line. And hey, it's hot, it's humid. These guys have been going for a week now, looking at the same guy on the opposite side of the offensive line. And he started throwing punches. And now you got linemen and coaches separating them. And I think guys are starting to get ready for that first preseason game. They're looking forward to seeing someone else to go up against. Ed Oliver, hey, love the energy, love the effort, love the enthusiasm, love just all that strength. Don't hit the quarterback and, you know, try not to. We don't need fights. No one needs that.
Although I totally back your assessment of Ed Oliver as the high and the low from practice today.
He's amazing.
I didn't have a problem with the idea of pushing the offensive line. I mean, I don't think he actually.
Yeah, what is he supposed to do?
He's battling, and you're only pretending as it is.
Yeah.
And pretending to get to the quarterback by also not fighting the offensive lineman, I think is a lot to ask. But you know what? That was my opinion, and you were right. The head coach was unhappy.
Yeah.
And the head coach, you would think, would know more than I do.
Maybe just a tiny bit.
A little bit, okay.
Now, the Bills are back to work tomorrow. This is another open session, 9:45 a.m. The team will also be celebrating their 60th season of Bills football. Where does the time go? Friday, the annual night practice in Buffalo at New Era Field. Then another day off on Saturday. Bills back at it at Fisher, St. John Fisher College. Sunday, that will be Military Appreciation Day. You will need a ticket for both the Friday and Sunday practices.
The weather for tomorrow's practice, it's just going to be good. I mean, it's summer. It's awesome. 0% chance of rain. I like that. So, you know, basically, like, go outside and do something. Bills camp will be great. Something else will be awesome. But, yeah, Western New York.
Woohoo! We did it. We finally did it.
We made it. Yeah.
We had some long months, some long weeks. You wondered if we'd ever get to this point where it's 80, humidity's tolerable. We finally did it.
All right, and speaking of doing it, we are all done for Bills camp tonight. Remember, we're going to do this every single time there is a Bills practice at St. John Fisher, so we will do it again tomorrow night. We will probably be back out at St. John Fisher, too. For Prescott Rossi, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks for watching Bills camp tonight. We will see you again tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat website.